Hi, good morning and welcome to webinar number 3, Where Did My Berkeley App Go? And the New Student Onboarding. Please be sure to mute your microphone and turn off your camera. And I want to introduce our panelists, Lisa Feldman from the SIS Project Training Team. She's our lead. Ann Obo and Richard Wood from the Cross Campus Functional Team. And Kira Troyan, Tamara Lawson, and Janet Guastavino from the SIS Project Training Team. Our agenda for this morning is to do an overview of the SIS project, an overview of Go Lives 5 through 5.7, MAP at Berkeley, onboarding and the third deposit, and questions.
Before we begin, when you want to ask a question, click the chat tool on the right side of your screen. Type your question in the chat box and press the Enter key.
Hi, it's Lisa Feldman. Excuse me. Welcome, everybody. As we do at the beginning of every webinar, I'm going to go over a quick overview of the SIS project for people who may not be familiar with it. I know that many of you are, so for you it will be a review. So we'll just take a couple of minutes. As you may have heard, the SIS project is integrating our databases for advising student financials, financial aid, and student records. Data is going to flow in real time, and people will use Cal Central as their dashboard to access data and perform tasks. Some people will. To remind you about what's changing for advising, in the Cal Central portal, students will begin to see their appointments for fall 2016 registration. We originally intended this to happen tomorrow. We actually are ahead of schedule, so it will likely be today. And then actually on March 24th, much more relevant to this particular webinar, newly admitted students will actually express their intent to register and begin to onboard via the Cal Central portal. Many people want to know, how are people going to know this? You may have seen the Cal message that came out this morning to the entire campus. That is one way we're going to be communicating to students and faculty and the campus. We also have other emails planned as well. On the faculty side, we're working with the Academic Senate. We're definitely working with the websites around campuses for messages and redirect, and you can see other ways that we are communicating. As Ann will review, the things that are changing are that MyBerkeley app is going away. So the answer to the question, what happened to MyBerkeley app, is it's gone. MAP at Berkeley is going to be where students see their admissions, and Cal Central is going to be the entry point for the rest of their experience. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen what we call the rainbow slide, our timeline and methodology. What I want to emphasize is we've had 4 go lives. Across the top, you'll see the dates. And vertically, you'll see the functions that have been impacted. Pretty much all of the go lives to date have been focusing on the undergraduate admissions experience and also building out financial aid for undergrads who are admitted. The go live that we have today brings us to a stage where not only will undergrads have the change in their admissions experience, which is actually going to be Wednesday, but current students also are seeing changes to their enrollment experience, and advisors will begin to see their own dashboard. Thursday, the students will be admitted. I want to go over a couple of quick lingo clarifications. Campus Solutions versus Cal Central. Campus Solutions is the back-end system that's running most of the new SIS project. It is a PeopleSoft product, and it is it's going to be directly accessed by staff for non-advising activities. Cal Central is the portal that students and advisors will use to access the functionality. Another piece of lingo I want to clarify is Cal Student Central versus Cal Central. Cal Central is the portal, as I just said. Cal Student Central has the people in it. It is a drop-in help desk for primarily undergraduate students who have questions about enrollment and financial aid activities. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Anne and Janet and Kira to talk about the next steps for the enrollment.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anne, and I am the lead for the SIS Cross Campus team. And I'm going to walk you very quickly through the admissions process with the MyBerkeley app. With how students are actually getting their admissions letters, and then I'll take you through the onboarding, which I think is more relevant to this conversation. So how do I do this? Where do I click? Whoops. Okay, so students submitted their applications to the university as of November 30th. And we're talking about freshmen primarily today because that's the population who will be admitted on Thursday. So they submitted their application to the university and have had the opportunity through a product that we implemented called Slate to interact with the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. If you look here on the screen, you'll see that they're actually logging into Slate here, which they don't know because they just think it's Berkeley. And the process is called MAP, which stands for?
My Application Portal.
My Application Portal. So the students have been interacting, asking questions, waiting for their decisions. They've been put on hold, and then if we go to the next slide, on Thursday, they're going to get a message that says there's been a change to your application status at Berkeley, and click here to get the latest update. That's what's going to be sent out to all freshmen who have not already been admitted. We've actually admitted a population of 1,909 students early, which is the first time we've done this. This was on February 12th. So we've been through this process with students admitted earlier, Regents and Chancellor Scholars, some athletes, but we have not been through the process with all of the applicants, including those who will be denied admission or those who will be put on a wait list. So on Thursday, all of these students are going to get this notification, and then they will actually log in to click on a button that says View Update, and then they will have some information at the bottom. But the big news is the next one, I believe, which is for those students who have been admitted to Berkeley, there will show a star. Once they click on the star, we're actually going to introduce them to Cal Central. So if we go to the next slide, please. All right, so this is their first experience with Cal Central that they've logged into using the same credentials that they logged into Slate with, which were, I think, email address and a passphrase they chose. At this point, you'll see that in Cal Central, they're getting a message that says, you've been admitted. Your next step would be to indicate your statement indicate your statement of intent to register. It actually is a pretty quick process, and so if a student clicks on the on continue, yes, I accept my offer of admission to UC Berkeley, and then they will see that there are actually some checklist items that they have to check off that says it's essentially background confirming that they have to complete a final year of academic classes. They agree that documentation will be submitted. They will submit all exams. And the final one is if anything changes, they have to get in touch with the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. So then they continue on from that. And their next step for many of them will be to pay a deposit. There are several students whose deposits have been waived. But if they're going to pay the deposit, they click on that link, and they actually will get redirected out. So the next slide, please. Oh, sorry. I thought we were going to walk through the payment process, but we didn't. So that's okay, because I don't think that you really need to see that. One of the things that has changed from the past is that we're accepting credit cards for all payments of student fees, and that's a big difference. There is a surcharge that's applied to it, 2.75%, I believe. So that's quite different. In the past, we accepted credit cards only for the SIR deposit. When it came to any tuition or fees, we did not accept credit cards. So that's a huge difference and should make it easier for some students. Now, what you're seeing on the screen here is that in Cal Central, the student has completed all the steps for undergraduate, for their SIR process. And after, it's not immediate, but it's pretty close to immediate. Richard Wood is in the room, and he actually has been working on a lot of the back-end processes to get this all up and running. And Richard, once a student actually indicates their intent to register, how long does it take for the tasks and the notifications to show up on Cal Central?
So the way that the processes work, we're currently running them once a day. So as soon as a student SIRs, the next morning when they log in, they should have new checklists and notifications on their dashboard. Now, as soon as we get more comfortable with the system, there are talks about running those on a more frequent basis.
Thank you. So in front of you, you're going to see the tasks, otherwise known as checklist items, that have been applied to a student, and the notifications, otherwise known as messages. Now, the checklist items, the tasks, some of you have been working with Chrissy Ross Francis in order to get your messages and checklist items up on Cal Central. But the checklist items are things that students must do. And the messages are things, information that students need to know. That's generally what it is. So you'll see that one of the top items, the top item, is the Berkeley CalNet ID. This is something we want all students to go in and to sign up with their CalNet, their friendly ID. Mine is AABOE, and that is the first step toward getting them integrated with the campus systems. Show 10 more. So that is one of the first ones, and then we're going to walk them through getting their Be Connected accounts. When they go and they sign up for their email, then that email address is going to go into the student record. Remember that Campus Solutions is behind most of this. So in the student record, we'll have the Berkeley email account, which is what we want.
If we could have a brief commercial announcement. If you do have questions about this, please chat them in as you have done in the past. And if you cannot see your chat dashboard, it's on the right side, and there should be something you can click to expand it.
That's right under the thank you for joining today's webinar. We will in the training session shortly. Right under there, there's a space bar where you can enter in your questions.
And you may have to hit the plus next to the chat button to expand so you can see the chat window. Okay, back to our program.
All right, so as you can see at the bottom, we have show 10 more, button. We actually can show 10 checklist items at a time. Show 10 more would take you to the next 10. Now, if we move on, we can see that a student can click on the individual item to expand that section and to be able to see a more detailed message. As you can see here, the CalNet ID section is expanded.
And then they can click on that button.
Then they can click on that Get CalNet ID, and it should take them to the right place to start that process. Now, on the notification side, these notifications are being grouped, actually. If you look at the very top, you'll see that there are 2 notifications for getting started. You see that date, March 16th, that's the date that they were posted. For the one that is expanded, you actually see 4 notifications for academic advising. And once the student clicks that open, they'll be able to see the entry level, if we go back one, sure. They'll see the entry level writing required, intellectual community, big ideas courses, L&S discovery courses. And to see more information about each of those, they would click on that. So you can see that there's another one called University Policies that opens up to sexual harassment and violence, smoking and tobacco, IT policy acknowledgement, and code of conduct.
And it says that these university policies are dated March 6th. What is that about?
Well, that's the date of March 6th is the date that the message was posted. And I agree that that's a little bit confusing, and we are looking at that. At this stage, though, this is what we're rolling out with. I know that if you go to the next slide, you'll see this has caused some confusion for others, which is that Cal Day, it shows Cal Day, March 6th. And then if you click open Read More, which I don't think we've got in our slide deck, maybe 2 down. There you go. So April 16th is the date of Cal Day. I suspect that there are going to be some questions about this. This has just come up, and it was just too late to be able to change all the coding behind this, but I suspect that that's going to generate some questions. If we go, let's see, where did we skipped around a little bit. So I think we have in the tasks, you can see that students can archive the tasks that are completed can be archived. So tasks, as I said, are things that are things that student must do. In the past, in MBA, there was the ability for some students for some of the tasks, for students to actually check them off themselves and say, I'm done with this. That's not possible in Campus Solutions. The only way, Richard, do you want to explain how those checklists can be cleared, the different ways?
All right, so when we're talking about the tasks in Campus Solutions, we have a few different ways that they can be updated. The easiest and the quickest way is for somebody to manually go into Campus Solutions and resolve a checklist item for a specific student. Now, granted, that's probably a little bit cumbersome if you have a lot to do. Another way that we update them is based upon other data that exists in the system. So for instance, as a part of the clearing process for undergraduate admission, students need to submit transcripts from all of their institutions that they've attended. Now what happens is when we receive a transcript from an institution, that is logged in a different part of Campus Solutions under external education. We then update the checklist saying that we need that transcript sent to being received. Another way that we can update checklist items in Campus Solutions is that we can update it via batch files. So for instance, if we have a department that has requested a checklist to be submitted or added to a student, then when the department says that the student has completed the checklist item requirements, they can send us a file of the students who have completed it, and we update them in batch.
And the final way that you can update an item.
And then we are currently in limited testing. We're working with the Berkeley International Office for them to be able to post updates via an API mechanism so that there's no files that need to be transferred, but they can update Campus Solutions via an API. And once again, that's in limited testing.
So that means that their computer system is going to talk to our computer system without human intervention.
And the people who may be watching or listening if you have a checklist that needs to be updated, you probably have been in touch with us already or in touch with Chrissy already about the updating. But please do understand there's a lot going on in the back end to help students, to help update the checklist. And in some cases, there may be a bit of a delay because there are many different ways to do it, and we're still sorting out the nuts and bolts.
So you might be wondering, what are the tasks that are out there? What are the notifications that are out there? And I have generated a list, and I'll just read through some of them. All of you who are in departments where you have submitted either a notification or a checklist item have been in touch with Chrissy Roth-Francis about it. And so you should know that you should already have gone through and managed the content of that. But just in general, we're applying messages when a student SIRS to prepare for CNR advising, LNS advising, College of Engineering, chemistry, fall program for freshmen. We're asking students to sign up for Cal Student Orientation. We're asking them to apply for housing. Some of them are going to have as a condition of admission that they will attend Summer Bridge, and we're asking them to enroll for Summer Bridge. We've got the Berkeley International Office has some requirements for international students. So we're asking that the students get in touch with them. There are hepatitis B immunity, there's immunizations, advising in the colleges I haven't already mentioned. There's a parent information form, information about the Cal One photo card, and other things. Now, one of the things about Campus Solutions is that we can isolate the populations that we want to apply a message to, which is what we've done. So we say apply it to all freshmen, but don't apply this particular one to the students in the College of Natural Resources. That would be the fall program for freshmen program, for example. Or we can say apply it at the point that a student submits their intent to register, or apply it at the submit of intent to register plus 5 days to sort of space out the messages. So that's how we've been doing it. We have things that aren't going to be posted until August or September or October. So we've got all of those plans in the works now. Most of the things that are coming through are going to be messages, notifications. And those are things like the Cal Day one, which we saw an example of. We've got the fall program for freshman registration process is actually showing as a message, and the Global Edge is showing as a checklist item. There are some good reasons for the difference between them. We have messages going out for the Society of Women Engineers, NCAA eligibility to athletes, and a number of other ones. We hope to get, we plan to get a list of all these notifications and the dates that we're going to apply them and the populations we're going to apply them to up onto our website so that you can see what the students are seeing and reacting to. And I think that's pretty much it for onboarding. I suspect that you have some questions, so I would welcome them as they come in.
Our first question is, can students eventually use a credit card to pay for readmission?
I'm sorry, that question has never come up before, and I can't imagine why they would not be able to use a credit card to pay for readmission if they've been able to use it to pay for everything else. So
fall tuition and fees are being paid through the same process no matter what the type of student there is. So, yes.
Is there anyone other than students monitoring whether student checklists get checked off?
Each individual department that has supplied a checklist item is going to be monitoring whether or not a student has completed their checklist. So they'll be able to pull a report to say, yes, all these students have completed it, no, all these students have not, and they'll be able to follow up with them. Does that answer the question? Richard, do you have anything to add?
I would say they can. It's an option. Some departments may choose not to.
Yeah.
Who specifically do we contact to batch clear checklist items?
This is from Maura Daly.
Hi, Maura. This is Ann. So Chrissy, I think, has been working with the departments. We're going to do a training on doing batch clearing, and I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be roll out, but I would assume that it's going to be within the next couple of weeks, because the checklist items will be applied soon.
Okay, and Harumi just asked, did I understand correctly from what Ann said, advisors be notified what groups are getting what messages?
Hi, Harumi. So what we're going to do is we're going to post something on our website, which is a list of all of the tasks, all of the checklist items, and all of the messages, so that you could go and see them. We're not going to have a list that says this group of students has all of these. Instead, we're going to post a more generic list that says, here are all of the items. This is the population they're applied to. This is the population that's excluded from this particular message. This is the date we're going to post it. And it might be helpful and give feedback on this to have the contact person in the department for that particular item. I don't think we'd want to direct students to that person, but I think it might be helpful for the advisors to have that information.
And Harumi, just wanted to confirm, this is the SIS website. This is the SIS Project website that will show this list of messages and tasks.
Correct. We have this up for graduate onboarding already, and we'll be adding to that and putting it up for freshmen,
Right.
and then transfer students.
We'll put it under the link to this webinar, and we'll probably have it somewhere else on the website too. That's sort of less, so that it just can be a reference page.
And that's all for the questions for right now.
Any other questions? Time for some more.
Will we be able to view as newly admitted students in MAP at Berkeley to see what our new admits be?
It is my understanding that advisors will have UAS access to Cal Central, which gives you access to certain aspects of campus solutions. However, UAS capabilities does not exist in the Slate product.
Right, so MAP is not, you've got UAS for Cal Central, and it's very exciting. I think it went live today. We actually have another webinar this afternoon to go even more into advising tools. But MAP, because it's not Cal Central, you won't have UAS into that. But as soon as they actually start getting into Cal Central, you'll be able to see what they're experiencing, much of what they're experiencing.
Gold star.
Click the gold star.
Any other questions out there?
And you've been very good at emailing us as well at sis-training@berkeley.edu, and feel free to email your questions in there as well. Okay. Oh, hello, Ruben. Ruben is, I believe, about to ask a question.
How can we submit additional materials for the checklist?
So everything,
Specifically, basic needs security resources.
basic needs security resources? I don't know.
Housing and food security information.
So Chrissy Ross-Francis is the campus partner for onboarding. So all onboarding activities need to be funneled through her office. So I would say your first step is to get in touch with Chrissy. I'm not sure how feasible it is to get this out for the fall incoming population at this point, but check with Chrissy.
I think that's all the questions.
That's excellent, thank you.
All right.
You're amazing.
And with that,
right.
thank you. Glad that you were on this webinar.
And want to see you at the next webinar on advisor assignments and placing and releasing holds, which is actually today from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. And we have one upcoming webinar also, scheduled classes, which is on Wednesday from 1:30 to 2:30, and then the reporting center advisor queries, which is March 24th, Thursday, from 1:30 to 2:30 as well. And then we'll have 2 additional webinars. The dates have not yet been decided on workflow, GGE forms, and transfer credit reports. Thank you all for your participation and your presence, and have a good day.
Thank you.